How you doing, everyone? This is Matthias Atva from Direct Dreadnought, your Dreadnought PS4 replay guy. I'm back after a week away for work, and what better way to get back into the swing of things for the channel than to finish one of my two long-term projects with the last installment of the How to Beat the Best series, How to Survive the Best. In part 1, How to Beat the Best, we took a look at an intense and action-packed replay where I was part of a team of randoms and we were up against the dreaded Space Apes, the undeniably best cooperative, professional, and most elite team on the PS4 server for advanced top-tier gameplay. We used mutual support, defensive formations, and controller-based communication to survive their onslaught and score a narrow and extremely rare victory against the best clan on the server. In part 2, How to Join the Best, we analyzed what makes the Space Apes and other teams like them that are now starting to emerge on the PS4 server so strong and successful. We looked at how they practice often, communicate, and strategize in real time flawlessly, and how they are always pushing the envelope of meta and gameplay tactics to the limit through fearless and peerless experimentation and mutual support in and out of the battle maps. Now in part 3, How to Survive the Best, we are going to take a look at some vintage footage I have in my extensive library of memorable replays against well-coordinated teams to help in a scenario you will probably face more often than not in PS4 Dreadnought. What if you are playing solo and casual, you are placed in a team of randoms who either cannot or will not communicate, and you are up against an elite team like the Space Apes? When good teamwork from a random team or an elite posse of your friends is just not possible or available, how can you play your best game, have fun, and also be proud of your performance and stave off an infuriating disaster that will sour your love for the game? We are going to break this down in 3 easy tips that will help you to survive against impossible odds, win, lose, or draw, and come out of these vicious and epic brawls with your pride intact, and maybe even earn you the respect of your team and possibly of the enemy too. After which we'll do a quick review of all the concepts in the How to Beat the Best series to bring it all together and help you to enjoy playing Dreadnought and not feel like a victim or a noob when you come across some tough competition. Tip 1 in surviving the best, which is also a big factor in the first video, How to Beat the Best, seems simple but many players neglect it. It is to have options. What do I mean by this? Well, this means that you should always be filling your fleet with 5 ships representing as many of the 5 ship classes in Dreadnought as possible. Go even further. Be sure to have 2 different builds for each ship so that you have 10 different tactical options to face as many types of organized gameplay strategies that our organized opposing team can muster. Try to make both builds for each ship as different and tactically flexible as possible within the boundaries of your gameplay style and module selection. Please note that having a build with lower tier modules that are excellent at countering certain ships and tactics is much more beneficial than a higher tier module that offers no help in a given tactical situation. An example of this would be a lower tier stasis module for countering corvettes and Oberon destroyers if you don't have the resources to purchase higher tier versions of stasis. Another example is to have a lower tier version of emergency evac on your tactical to avoid being bullied by multiple opponents if you haven't purchased the higher tier version of that module. Often, higher tier modules only offer a slight increase in damage and a slight decrease in cooldown over their lower tier counterparts, and sometimes using lower tier modules that are hard counters to certain team tactics are much more valuable than a high tier module that does nothing for a given situation. In the background, I had a game against an elite Corvette team led by Persistent Flame. At the beginning of the match, I had chosen an Octa. Ironically, right after me and Flame had a discussion offline about whether tacticals are truly the counter to Corvettes. Needless to say, the Octa is the wrong ship to prove this point, and knowing the enemy strategy, I immediately switched to a thick-skinned Akula Gora destroyer build that could easily absorb and endure the damage spikes from multiple Corvettes and use my flak and missiles to turn their tiny craft into paste. If you find yourself being killed over and over in the ship you originally chose in a match against an organized team, don't be stubborn. Choose another one of your 9 ship or variant options that better suits the enemy's strategy. This leads right into my second tip: Sun Tzu that shite. In other words, don't fall into the trap of playing the enemy's game. This means analyze what the enemy team is doing, what ships they are using, and what tactics they are trying to employ, and do the opposite of what they expect you to do. The replay in the background right now is by no means my best against the Apes or one with an impossibly remarkable KD, but this replay demonstrates tactical flexibility very well, and I am personally enjoyed my seemingly lackluster performance very much. In this replay, the Apes, led by Scroat, were using the Tactical Troll Cruiser strategy. In this strategy, which the Apes do for sheer amusement to troll enemy formations and to prove how overpowered tactical cruisers are in large numbers, and how taxing they are to game speed and frame rate. The team of randoms I was with tried to bunch up in heel ball, much like what we did in the How to Beat the Best video. Right off the bat, I knew this was not going to work. My team was playing right into the Apes' hands, using a much weaker version of the Apes strategy in an attempt to outplay the Apes, who are, to be honest, much better players. I decided to take a play right out of the Art of War and not be a sitting target for artillery pods being shot like a fish in a barrel, hoping 1 or 2 uncoordinated tactical cruisers can out-heal the Apes with their 5 tacks, all communicating in party chat. Instead, I chose my Oberon Brutus destroyer and decided to prowl the rings of Saturn like a shark, looking for weak points in the enemy team. Sun Tzu said, "Do not attack where the enemy is strong, only attack where they are weak." First, I found any bot or stray artillery cruiser that was not close enough to the Apes' tactical troll formation and couldn't benefit from their mutual support. After I launched surprise attacks and dispatched them, I waited for those ships to respawn and engage them before they could rejoin the Apes. I know this seems underhanded, but for much of the match I was scoring the only kills for my team, and it was keeping us in the game. After scoring 5 to 6 kills this way, eventually such opportunities did not present themselves as often, and I patrolled in a wide circle around my team, using cover and stealth to avoid detection from the Apes, and dispatched any bots or players foolish enough to break formation and try to attack my team in close range. When lone targets or bots were unavailable, I used opportunities when the Apes were distracted by my team to launch surprise raids at their formation and traded my ship for at least 1 and sometimes 2 tactical cruisers by using spike damage. Although we lost and most of my team barely got kills, if any at all, I walked out with a solid 11-3, the highest points on my team, and a sense of accomplishment and respect. So don't play the enemy's game. Try your best to attack the weaknesses of their chosen strategy, break up their plan in formation, and don't be stubborn. Where possible, be elusive and don't try taking the enemy head-on, especially if this gives them the advantage. And that brings me to my third tip on how to survive the best: play for fun, don't play mad. This was touched on in the first video, but I think it deserves a more in-depth explanation here. Remember, this is a game. You are supposed to have fun. while still enjoying good competition and high-level gameplay that gets your blood pumping. When playing against the apes or any elite high-level coordinated squad, try to play your best without taking it personally. One of the main strengths of a well-coordinated enemy squad is that they can alert each other to potential dangers, call for aid almost instantly, and coordinate their attacks to bring superior firepower to bear against lone or reckless targets. By attempting to single out any member of an elite squad and try to duel or bully them, you are playing right into the enemy's hands and will most assuredly see yourself being attacked by their teammates. Also, being stubborn and trying the same ship, tactics, or strategy against a squad or team that's already familiar and prepared for your attack is not only foolishly predictable, but suicidal. The angrier and more frustrated you get, and the more you tunnel vision on one particular opponent, the less clearly you will think. Your judgment will be impaired, and more likely you will make mistakes and play right into your enemy's hands. The replay in the background now was a match where Scroat was playing his deadly artillery cruiser, and he has the skills to shoot fast destroyers and even corvettes right out of the sky. He was being supported by tacticals and dreadnoughts and had other apes using destroyers as flankers. I call this the herding to slaughter tactic, where the destroyers circle around and force our team into a big pile of ships in a bad position with little cover, stumbling into each other, while the artillery cruiser supported by tacs and dreadnoughts picks us off one by one at long range. Previous to this battle, the apes had been trolling me, saying that I like to choose dreadnoughts against them and hide behind cover all match. Instead of getting mad at this and trying to prove them wrong, I decided to do just that in this match. I was able to absorb hits from artillery and nukes, and I used cover to conceal my location. When destroyers or other ships ventured too close to my team, I unleashed my dreadnought's fury upon them and got kills wherever I could. Eventually the apes switched tactics and became much more aggressive, which opened several opportunities for me to fight on my terms. When I was struck down by one of them, I didn't get mad and go after that player, making it personal. I just took some time to catch my breath, respawned with a fresh outlook, and took every new engagement as a unique opportunity to play my best game without regrets. And that's the key to surviving the best. Even if you lose, even if you get killed many times, you play to have fun, to learn from the best, to get better at the game by playing the best, and to walk away with pride and satisfaction. If you walk away angry and with a grudge, quit games, or even sabotage games in which you are teamed up with an organized squad that wronged you in the past, you did not survive the best. In fact, they defeated you totally and completely because you aren't playing for fun or to get better. Now you are angry, jaded, and toxic. You can even make your own fun little game against such impossible odds, or even find opportunities to surprise an organized squad, gain their respect, or even troll them yourself. In the replay you're watching right now, I decided to play a game where my only goal was to kill every ape at least once and not die, and I succeeded, although my team lost the match. In the last replay you'll see at the end of this video, I used my much hated quote-unquote anti-ape build, which is a Kataro tactical with emergency evac. Instead of using it to surprise nuke mine noobs, I trolled the enemy with arty pods and constant beam laser pressure. When they broke formation to chase me down, I made a perfect escape and left them open to attack from friendly teammates. Unfortunately, Scroat got sick of me attacking the other apes this way and hunted me down to ensure I didn't get a perfect game, but it was fun and kept the apes on their toes. It broke their momentum and used their aggression against them. And a quick word about this series. I use the space apes as my primary example because they are the best when it comes to organized squad play. They are virtually undefeated with an at least 90% or better win rate, and they have certainly punished me many times for my epic shenanigans. But I don't hate them. In fact, I talk to them often, and you shouldn't hate them either. Ideally, you one day would want to emulate their teamwork and strive to make yourself a better player by sharpening your skills against them like a grinding stone. The apes may not play as much anymore, but they still take to the stars occasionally, and what's much more important is that the general player base, including most of my subscribers, are becoming excellent players and have earned the right to be called elite themselves. Soon you will see more teams like the apes spring up, so you should be ready to fight tough battles against organized squads, because the apes aren't the last organized team on PS4. They were the first, and you should expect many more. So let's take a moment to review how to beat the best and review some easy tips to make your experiences against organized squads fun and challenging instead of sour and demoralizing. First, always have a backup plan. Always have 5 ships in your fleet and try to have 2 builds for each ship. If one ship or build is getting you killed often and not doing any good, don't be afraid to try something totally different, even with a ship you consider inferior to your favorite vessel. You may just be surprised with the results. Where possible, try to reach out and communicate with your team even if they are randoms. Try to use mutual support, calling out targets, and simple defensive tactics to blunt the enemy and counterattack when the opportunity arises. Remember, don't play their game. Instead, disrupt their strategy and try to encourage them to make mistakes. Try playing in a squad of your own, with your friends, or even your rivals. Some of the best games I've ever had were with my frenemies. Practice using advanced tactics, using headset or controller communication, and bounce around new ideas for builds and strategies. You don't have to go at it alone. Sometimes sacrificing a little glory and working with others can be just the thing to turn certain defeat into an awesome surprise victory. And lastly, and most importantly, play to have fun and get better. If you get all angry about a match, not only are you ruining the gameplay experience for yourself, but you are probably going to get killed much more often. By chasing a member of an organized squad and making it personal, you can almost always expect that their squad mates are going to come to their rescue and bully you into submission. Even worse, you may tick them off and perhaps they will decide to make an example of you. Try to accept Dreadnought as a game and keep a level head. If your ships and strategies aren't working, try something new and try to treat every match as a learning experience. Play your very best in every situation. Don't play the game for victory or revenge. No one likes those players. Try to play each game to have fun. And when you come across a tough enemy team, do your best and walk away with a sense of pride and respect. You can't change how enemy squads play the game, or their attitude, but you can change how you play and see the game. I promise you your gameplay will improve, and you may just make Dreadnought a better and more challenging game for everyone else too. Well, that's it from me for now, and I'll see you soon in Sinley Bay.